I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving yesterday. My family and I did. We were able to spend it with two families that we have become super close friends with since we moved here to Texas during the year 2020. And so they are a great blessing in our lives, and we're so grateful for them. We all split up the meals, so it didn't feel like we were making everything. And my kids actually played, not on the phones or anything like that. They're running around shooting people with Nerf guns. It was wonderful. Everyone was upset when everyone had to go home at the end of the day. So I hope your guys' Thanksgivings were just as wonderful as ours. Once again, T K Thompson here, author of epic fantasy adventure book series. And if you're interested, we are reading one of my novellas, but if you're interested in the book series, this is book 1, okay? A New Recruit by T K Thompson. And then we have book 2, A Witch's Curse. And book 3, The Golden Catacombs, which is the first time that we see our character Beldagar, which is the book we're reading. I love his character, so I wrote a little novella about him. And then this one's brand new, just came out. And we also get to see Beldagar in this book as well, and Rose, both of them. Anyway, technically, we learn a lot more about our nemesis as well. I don't remember if she makes an appearance. No, she comes in book 5, the one I'm writing. Anyway, the Book of Soliticus is also a little thriller. That's a novella that goes along with book 4. You can get them both right now you can get them all on Amazon, but these two are the shiny new ones. And go support them right now. And we're on chapter 11. This time I didn't have to kick the cat out of her chair. She's over there in the other one. So she probably won't be attacking us today during the reading, which is always nice. No comments from the peanut gallery. Hi. Okay. So the last chapter, chapter 10, was pretty intense, I'm going to say. It's probably the biggest bang in the entire book. And it was so weird yesterday as I was trying to read it. I felt like there were so many distractions. But this one, chapter 11, the last deal, is the last chapter in the book. It's not super long, but it's still good because it's going to tell us what happens to our leading man and lady. Okay? All right. He let himself down gently in the meadow. Him is Beldagar, if you haven't been following along. Beldagar let himself down gently in the meadow, the heaviness of his battle straining his body. Rose raced from the trees toward him. His heart pounded with relief. Her face was calm and unafraid. He wanted to crumble to the ground. She stopped a few steps shy of him and glared over his shoulder. Beldagar stretched to his full height and spun. Foresees stood in the middle with them. The look on her face was cold and indifferent. Foresees, Rose said. Beldagar glanced back, surprised. How could you do this to your own son? She asked. Exactly, Foresees barked. Her voice shook the ground like thunder. He is my son. He will do what I want. He will be what I want, and you cannot stop that now. She gazed at him gloriously. He made the deal and has broken the first curse. We are all free from it now. She paused. You have the strength of the depths of hell. You can find that death is very easily bargained with if you have the right price. Her eyes glowed deeply. Tell me the truth, Beldagar said. It was you, the man on the road in the wagon, the women holding sticks. I don't know how, but I know that they were you, tricking me this whole time. Versailles' eyebrows flickered up. Yes, my encounters with you have to be quick because you can see me better than anyone else. You can catch the truth in the shadowed facade. It's because we're blood. That's why I had to be brief while talking to you. I had to turn away so you wouldn't see my real face. Now get this over with. She jerked her head toward Rose. His mother's hatred for Rose seethed beneath her skin. He was positive Versailles would kill her on the spot. Beldagar turned back to Rose and blocked her view of his mother. You must go now, his hoarse voice begged. I've set you free. You must live your life now. Rose's eyes shone up at him. He crouched down, and she raised her hand to his face. No, she said firmly. Just because you can't remember yet doesn't mean I'll forsake you. She glided her hand across his cheek. I see you. I cannot be without you. I will not let her win. He forced her hands from his face and stepped away, looking at Versailles. His heart sunk. He had to let her go. I am ready, he said. Versailles glared. A wooden staff with a green glowing orb appeared in her hand. She swung it around her head and broke the glass against his foot. It didn't hurt, but a great heaviness flooded his leg. He looked down as his limbs turned to stone. The rock crackled up, freezing him in place. Satisfaction gleamed on Versailles' face. He turned to catch Rose's horror. No, she screamed, holding her hands out. He imagined her staying, broken-hearted, to watch over his statue. Please, Rose, be free. No, Rose dashed the last few steps and jumped straight into his arms. He caught her, and a green light flashed from his eyes. The stone traveled up his chest, enveloping them together. The last thing he heard was Versailles' protest as the curse traveled up his stretched wings, covering them to the tip. So that's the end of that scene. But then we flash to another one. Versailles glared at the statue of Rose cradled in Beldagar's arms. Anger steamed from her nose as she considered the cost of Rose's actions. She sensed movement behind her and glanced back, but returned to glare at the statue. Come out, sister. No need to hide in the shadows. I will allow you to shine once again. A white, translucent silhouette flickered behind her shoulder. A soft voice blew through the air. You know you can't control the consequences of this. Versailles mulled through the problem. You'll never be able to disconnect them. I'll have my day, as I'm sure you remember, Versailles gloated, glancing back at her sister's faded ghost. A long white cloak and hood covered most of her features. Only her light hair billowed from behind the cowl. Versailles drew in a deep breath, allowing her retribution to build, strengthening her resolve. My greatest strength, dear sister, is that I am very, very patient. And then we go to a different scene. 1 year later. Ooh, sorry. The statue of Beldagar and Rose sat entwined and lonely in the meadow. Long ivy vines adorned it, hiding its visible features. The sun steamed against the horizon. The last golden burning light splayed through the sky, setting the land aglow for the last seconds of the day until it crept behind the darkening earth. As the final light left, the statue was swept with a flood of green. A crack split through the torso of Beldagar. It crumbled and spread through his arms, legs, wings, and back until portions of stone tumbled to the ground. His clawed hands broke free, gently catching the weight of Rose as the stone skin released her. She felt weightless in his hands, but his knees buckled to the ground. Rose grabbed his arm, bracing herself to be laid on the ground. Pain streaked through his body. He arched backwards as it rushed him. His cries bellowed through the air, and his eyes crushed close as the bones broke, reducing his wings into his back. Through his haze, Rose clung to him, trying to help him during the retransformation. Finally, after the seizing pain ended, he lay panting in the dirt, sweat dripping off of him. He lifted his head to see her. All his memories were there. Rose. Her eyes sparkled and a smile grew up her sweet face, dispelling all the darkness away. The end. The end! Okay, so if you guys haven't been watching, I don't think I mentioned this in the beginning. If you haven't been watching, all the other chapters of this book are underneath my Facebook profile. So if you click that little round circle that has my face on it and you just click my face, you should be able to find chapter 1 through 11 of Beldagar, A Dark Eve Story, okay? That was the ending, but it's not the ending because you see them more in those two books, like I said. Really, you get to see them super well in this book, Animar Warrior, okay? And I really like the picture on this one. My husband did a super good job. I just felt like I was drowning during the photo shoots. Anyway, and so if you want to learn more about Beldagar and Rose and their story, then you can start reading the other books and know more about them. I really, really appreciate everyone who's followed along. I know that it hasn't been perfect. There's been lots of interruptions due to everybody else that lives in this house and who doesn't understand what be quiet means. But even right now, my son and my husband are sitting here playing like the old Donkey Kong together. You can probably hear their buttons going. Hey, you're talking. Anyway, thank you so much for following me. It's been such an amazing adventure writing these books. And sometimes I even go back and read them myself, and I'm like, where did I come up with that? I don't even know what I did or how I did it. But I have amazing people that are behind me and supporting me, and especially my husband, who puts up with all of my opinions. And he's taught me how to critique him better by like saying something I like first before I say things that I don't like. But anyway, he really has been the best. And I love that I can just sit there and talk story with him and he'll start crying or something. It's just wonderful. But thank you so much for following my reading of Beldagar. I hope you really enjoyed the chapter. And my other novella is just as quick as Beldagar. And I'm going to have to say, I love it even more. The characters that I came up in this book are like wonderful little treasures. And so that's what I think of them as I write them. I've developed them so much that I just feel like they're just people that really exist in my little brain. So I hope you guys, again, had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I appreciate you guys so much and your support. If you can, go on and buy the books. I know that 2020 hasn't been super easy, but we do have digital versions and paperback versions, and I think you can actually get Beldagar for free digitally on my website. So if you go to www.tkThompson.com, you can get this book digitally for free. Anyway, appreciate you guys, and we'll just have to see what else I come up with to make more videos. Okay? Bye.